Okay, so I wanted to continue with this, with the sculpt of this guy. Let us get into some more of the sculpting process. Alright, the next thing I wanted to kind of create was maybe start making some of the subtools for these inner pieces. So I'll go and it's not a bad width. So he's got kind of this like this strip in between, kind of like a Alright, and for this, I'm just going to use my extraction to extract it and see what it looks like. Just to extract again. Let me do 0.04. And then let me do that extract and see what it looks like. It's probably too much. Let's do 0.03. Okay, that's good. But let me reduce the smoothing to 0. Increase the smoothing instead. Okay, that's super smooth. And then I'm going to hit accept. And this is cool, but what I want to do now is I want to make it a lot smoother, a lot more of a geometry that's easier to work with. So I'm going to do half that geometry and then I'm going to Z remesh it. Alright, actually let's go Control Z. And I'm going to go into my deformations. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit polish. Just going to turn up the polish a little bit. And what that's going to do is it's going to essentially should smooth it out. Maybe let's do relax. No. Maybe I need to, yeah, I'll do the remeshing first. Remesh it. Half the geo. It's actually, if I hit get control like that, clear out the, then I'm gonna do this once or twice. And what I want to do is I want to kind of get this and just subdividing it a few times. Alright, subdividing it a few times to get us a much. Alright, I like that it's a little jagged, but I might want it to be straight. So what I want to do is I'm going to use something called a clipping curve. Right, so I'm gonna go Control and Shift, and then I'm gonna go clipping curve right there. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna give me a straight line. It's gonna slam those edges to the side, so now I have something completely straight up and down. It's nice and clean, right? It's still gonna follow the contour of his shape, but it's a lot cleaner. My only problem is I still want much less geometry. Alright, I'm gonna do that again. Just kinda, I'm trying to take it pretty far down. Like I don't want that much geo. This will exist just fine with, there you go. Something like that. Right, it'll do just fine. And what you want to remember about clipping curves is wherever that dark the dark spot is where it's going to get clipped off. All right. So that's fine. All right. And what I can do is I might want to just pull it in a little bit like so. All right. And now I'm going to go back to my subtools. I can hide this guy for now. Control to clear my mask selection. I'm going to turn off my poly frames. I'm going to use my draw brush. And now what I want to do is I want to try to draw some of these little spine things that's going on here. All right. And remember to get kind of like an x-ray view of what's going on underneath. I can turn down the opacity of my model. Maybe what I should do now is actually look to see. Yeah, it's about the right size. All right. So now I'm going to turn off my symmetry and then just start to draw or paint. Sorry, I'm going to paint some of these vines that he's got going on here. Alright, just painting some of these vines. Control Alt. Alright. Control. And this is all gonna go on the under the jacket. So I'm just painting some of these vines. I'm not really paying attention to how smooth they are right now. That's fine, because I'm still gonna kind of retopologize them as I go. All right. So this is one way to do it. You can obviously use like an IMM brush as well. Just gonna do a couple more. Whoops. Alright, so I've got my my pieces in place, and I can do the same thing where I just do an extract, but I might want to reduce the smoothing down to 1. Take the 0.02 and then hit extract. Let's do 0.01 and then extract. So I'm going to turn it this way so I can see how far the depth is. I'm going to hit extract. That's pretty nice. That's an okay. Actually, let's do 0.03. Is that a double? Okay, this is not bad. And then I'm gonna hit accept, and it's gonna make me my little pieces there. And now I'm gonna go down into my not geometry, my deformations, and I'm gonna hit polish. I'm gonna hit a polish on them, so it just kind of smooths them out already for me. Right? That's okay, because I'm still gonna go. Let's Actually, what I want to do is I'm gonna take them and then maybe instead of inflate, I'm gonna deflate them a little bit. Inflate them just a little bit like so. Just so they're kind of like puffed out. Right? So you can see that it's kind of it's giving more viney kind of looks. All right. So now I might want to actually go to my subtool. I'm gonna hide that, and then just go back on there, turn off that, and then I'm just gonna do an overall smooth. I'm gonna maybe increase my smooth parameter a little bit, right? And then I can just hit the smooth on them, smooth them out a little bit more. I'm gonna go, my geometry is a little high, so I'm gonna want to go to my geometry again, right? Do half, Z remesh. Boom, let's do this thing. Do it once, a couple times, just so you know. I've told you guys the less geo you have, the easier the mesh will be to work with, right? You see how much easier it is to kind of smooth these guys out now, and right. The reason it was kind of a little tougher to do that was because of that. Because of how high the geometry was. So I'm just gonna increase my opacity now. Let's go to my subtools. All right. I'm gonna use this move tool to wholesale move some of these down. Grab some of these pieces, just moving them down a little below. I have him kind of meld back into his skin a little bit. Just give it a little bit more realism. All right. All right. So this is like a basic step for it. Now I want to go about showing you guys how to kind of create the jacket. But before I do that, I kind of want to go back into some of this arm piece a little bit, and I'm going to go to my geometry here. Let's just smooth this guy out. Let's go to my poly groups. So I'm going to select this part of the arm. Control and Alt. All right. Just gonna take this part right here. All right. So there's parts of it that I still want to kind of have that symmetry modifier work for, right? Because I don't want to work too hard, right? And then there's parts that do this again, because maybe just all right, right here. I kind of want to rotate this guy. I want to show you guys how to quickly kind of get this guy back into, so I can move. I'm gonna, oops. It'll take a second. Okay. Okay, so I need to include more of this in there. No. I've got a lot of warping and stretching right now. That's fine. A little retopo and smoothing will fix that right up. So now I've got that. Now I can go back to my draw, and I'm just gonna hit Control, remove all that. I'm just gonna smooth this guy back out. Smooth it all back out. Alright, smooth it out. Might increase my smoothing a little more, right? Just smoothing it back out. Alright, so now I've got something that's back to asymmetrical. Alright, and after I do a little retopologizing on it, it should just be fine once again. So I'm just gonna go back, and then I'm gonna retopo this guy again. I'm gonna Z remesh it, same, right? And this shit's gonna fix all of the warping and all that stuff. That's the beauty of ZBrush is, you know, it can be pretty forgiving even when you make a boneheaded mistake. Alright, that's fine. Now let's look. Alright, cool. Now let me go back one just so you guys see Boom. Oops. There we go. Back to that. So now I can start to sculpt again on my mesh. I'm gonna maybe move this guy back a little bit. Go BCT. Right, because now this is like a jacket, right? So what I want to do is I want to turn all of this into a new subtool for my jacket. So I'm gonna hit X on my keyboard to get my symmetry back. All right. I want my symmetry back on this bad boy. Let me pull up my reference a little bit more. All right. Alright, so I've got a decent framework for my jacket. It's got kind of like a peacoat going on. I'm gonna reduce this a little bit, maybe just to make myself a little more accurate. Let's get this guy. A little more accurate there. Now let's go back into our opacity. Reduce the opacity just a little bit, just so I can get where that jacket kind of lies. Alright. Control to mask. Alright. And now I've kind of got an outline for my jacket. Let's make sure we've got good. Go like this, just to take a little bit more off. All right. Now let's turn his opacity back on. Definitely not a backless number, so we're going to come back here. You guys get the drill at this point. Making our boy a jacket. Alright. So now just gonna round it out a little bit over there. I'm gonna leave a hole here for his little nubbin. Okay, actually, it's not bad. So I'm just gonna turn off symmetry once again, like so. Like so. Alright, I'm gonna go down here, kind of do something similar. Where I'm actually gonna, nope. I mean, you can't really see it in the reference, but I'm gonna imagine that it's got a nice kind of taper going on. Alright. Okay. Trying to get a decent angle for this mask guy. That's pretty good. Alright, so I've got a decent mask going. Now I'm going to do the same thing. You guys at this point get the process. Go to my geometry, my subtool tab, right here. And then I'm going to extract the mesh. This time though, I think I do want like 0.01. And then I'm going to extract. And this is fine. I'm going to accept it. That's cool. I'm going to go back into my mesh. Why is it all square? Should be rounded. I want it to be rounded, not squared off. Like that. Alright. And now I'm gonna grab this guy, delete, hit OK, go back into this guy, do my extraction again. And then accept. Now I've got my rounded kind of collar there. Alright. I'm going to hide this guy for a second, go back there. Alright. Now I can make, I'm going to do something similar to make the collar. And this collar is very atypical for most pea coats. If you look at most pea coats, they only have like this big one and then another one. So you got to keep some of these things in mind whenever you're handling these concepts. This is very concepty. That's a technical term. So I'm going to go back into my tool here, reduce the opacity. Remember, all I'm doing is I'm grabbing this from my texture right here, right? This is where that tab is coming from, and I'm going down here. So if you don't see, if you wonder why it's over here, it's because I grabbed it from my texture. I grabbed my texture bar over here and I docked it over there. All right. So don't be alarmed or feel like, oh, what the hell is he doing? All right. So I'm going to turn on symmetry once again. And now I'm going to use that to, to create my my lapel here. Just gonna, and then I'm using the opposite mask. All right. Another thing is you can turn on lazy mouse as well. Let's move this guy back in place, just so I make sure that I'm at least getting some close to accurate proportions on everything I'm making. Alright, that's why we're using reference. Making sure everything's kind of right. And I don't have to make it like stupid perfect right now, but it's nice to kind of get something decent as a start. Right, and then for this as well, you're gonna want to take that all the way to the back. Reducing the size of my brush just so I can get this other peak in there. Erase a little bit. Right, it's a back and forth. As you guys can see, everything just, you're going back and forth with a lot of this stuff. Making sure. Alright, now I can turn my opacity back on a little bit more, and I'm going to do the same thing. At this point, you guys should understand the process. Right, now extract. And for this piece, right, as you can see, I've got all of these kind of like funny looking ridges and stuff. So I'm going to extract and then accept it. But as usual, right, I'm going to want to first, let's go here, let's go to our surface, or my deformation I mean, and I'm going to just go polish these features up. Right, and what that's going to do is it's going to smooth out a lot of that for me. I'm going to do the same opposite. Polish these features. Polish these features up. Turn off my lazy mouse. Alright, smooth. I'm smoothing it out. Smoothing it out. Smoothing it out. I might go in here. BMV, that's my move tool. Use that to kind of move this piece out a little bit. Right, smoothing out this piece, these pieces. Like everything else, you're gonna have to go through a bunch of different phases, right? You build it slowly, and then you kind of just keep building it up from there. So now I'm just gonna control that. I'm gonna polish features, keep doing that a little bit till I get something nice and clean and smooth like that. All right. So this is okay. This is like a good, decent start. It's not completely done, but it's a decent start. I'm gonna go back into actually let's go back into geometry, and then I'm going to ZRemesh it half. All right. I'm gonna just start and then with my move tool I can move this out. Shift to smooth. Use this guy to I'm just using the move brush to move some of these guys right back in there. Right back into shape. Right. I'm just going to try to match the silhouette. And I can also solo this guy. Right, for this part of it. Right. Right, it's a give and take, push and pull. You're constantly working the mesh. Right. And even now, right, I'm still kind of far off from where it needs to be, but once I hit it with a retopologize, you know, making sure that all these pieces are right in place, smooth, right where they need to be. Shift, smooth this bad boy out. Right. I can right, so now I can go back here, make sure I've got something workable. Shift to smooth this bad boy out. Right. Alright, Z-remesh it once again. Here with that old Z-remesh. Alright, so I'm just constantly going through and essentially halving the amount of geometry, and then I'm gonna polish again by feature. Let's see. Right. So now that I've brought it back here, you can see that, well, it doesn't really fit on top of the jacket. So we're going to do that. We're going to pull using the move brush to start to pull these pieces out. Alright, and as you guys can see, once you start to get all these pieces in place, it'll start to take shape. But it takes a little bit of time in massaging the mesh to get it where you really want it to be. There you go. Just it's a little sharper over there. Now I need to pull alright, and with this guy, with the jacket, it's a little too it looks like his body. So I need to do a lot of smoothing, right? I need to do a lot of cleaning up for it to kind of match. So first I'm gonna clear the mask and then move some of these pieces in place. Alright, move some of these pieces in place. I've still got a decent bit of symmetry on, so if I hit the symmetry on this bad boy, I should be able to just smooth out a lot of this. I'm going to increase my smoothing parameter here, and I can smooth it quite a bit. Smooth a lot of that information out, because I'm going to redo a lot of it, right? And that's the idea. We're gonna be the one to determine how that works on them. All right. This is cool, but we can reduce a lot of that. A lot of that information can go. Just gonna pull this out, and as you guys can see, some of these parts have lost their symmetry, which is fine. I just have to turn off X. I'll turn it back on for the parts that do have symmetry still turned on. So, and then I can go back. Right now, it's a key of going back and forth between some of these vines, and that's why I created the vines, because then I can know how far the jacket either needs to be pulled out. So, and that's another thing with the jacket, because it's so high in definition right now. I need to go and just reduce it again, and then I'm gonna freeze the poly groups and then Z remesh it by half, taking it down by half. Hopefully it doesn't crash because I froze those. Okay, Control Z. Let's take that, Z remesh it. I don't know why it keeps reverting back to this. Let's go Dynamic. Okay, let's go Dynamesh. I'm gonna reduce the Dynamesh. Whoa. Whoa. Ooh. Alright. Now let's go Z remesh. See if the Z remesh will then not try to revert back into an older state. I don't know why it's going back into that. That's so ridiculous. Okay, so maybe it's, I don't know why the cache data is like, it might be it has the old morph or something on there, which is ridiculous. I don't know why it's maybe delete lower. Z-remesh it again. Oh, okay. That's ridiculous. Okay, let's move some of this stuff in place while I still have the chance. I'm gonna try to figure this out. Okay, so for some reason, whenever I try to remesh it, it is giving me the previous morph, even though, right, like the last time it was like that, it was super far, and it was never like that. It was just a mesh that was maybe let's see if I duplicate it, and then I do that to this one instead. Since it's a duplicate, maybe it won't have it. I don't know why. Let's do half Z-remesh. Yeah, it's dumb. ZBrush, why does your program do this? Let's not use that. Let's do a target poly count and then Z-remesh it and see if that fixes it. No, it does not. Okay. I'm going to do X. I'm going to do poly groups, auto group, there's a group masked. Okay, so now everything that's masked is grouped. And then now I'm going to go back into my geometry, go back to my Z-remesher, and then half, freeze the groups, freeze, keep the poly paint, Z-remesh and see what it does. Ha ha ha! Alright, that's for some reason friggin' worked. Okay. Even though I'm pretty sure it just Gave me some weirdo artifacting right there. That's fine. But since I've done that, maybe now I can Z-remesh it properly. Jesus Christ, that's ridiculous. Okay. What if now I can, maybe I can turn it off? I can turn it off now. I don't know what that's about, but that is super weird. But then I also now have a cut in my mesh, which is absolutely unwanted right there. You can see that. It's like torn the shirt up a little bit. But I'm gonna Z-remesh it at a target poly count. I might, okay, what I'm gonna want to do is actually I'm gonna go into I'm gonna modify topology. There's one that says close holes. I'm gonna close all the holes in here, and then I'm gonna go back to my Z-remesher. I'm gonna go half, Z-remesh it again, and this hopefully can now, Jesus Christ, now I've got like this weirdo torn shirt syndrome shit going on. Let's do Z-remesh in general. Alright, let's do Dynamesh. Alright, Dynamesh isn't bad. I can go back to my Z-remesher. Now Z-remesh it. Alright. Okay. Now I'm back. Jesus, that is the weirdest, most obnoxious workaround for this program I've ever had to deal with. Oh my god, that was absolutely bananas. But we got through it. That's all that matters. We got through it. Alright, so let me do what I was trying to do before I was rudely interrupted by ZBrush being a piece of absolute garbage. Alright, let me pull these out a little bit. And I'm still going to want to go in and shift smooth, polish some of this stuff, just because it doesn't really suit us. See what I did there? Alright. I'm just going to pull this down. Alright. Go here. Let's pull this. Pull it out a little bit, smooth it out. All right. You guys see the process. It's nothing crazy, right? It just takes a little bit of time, right? Like you just got to be patient with yourself, and you know, to really start to get the hang of this stuff. And once you get the hang of it, you realize, oh, you give yourself some time to do it, and you'll understand what's doing what and why things aren't doing what it's supposed to do, and you'll try to, some of your biggest things in this field is, you're a problem solver. You got to solve some problems. The software is going to break, shit's going to go wrong, and it's your job to solve that issue, right? Sometimes you might spend a day at work just solving an issue with the server, or solving an issue with the pipeline, and that's what they're paying you for, is to not be a Debbie Downer and go, oh no, the software hates me, and I can never be an artist, or I can never do this, and well, they're paying you to solve problems, to get the headache off their plate, you know. And when that's what you're getting paid for, well then shit, get the headache off their plate, you know. You get paid in proportion to the amount of problems you can solve, right? That's one of the things I learned in life is if you find a way to solve a lot of problems, people will pay you for that. People don't want to deal with problems, right? You realize that a lot with a lot of people in a lot of industries, right? The more problems you solve for people, well, the more lucrative your job will be, you know? So learn to solve problems. Learn to be okay with shit going wrong. Learn to be okay with it, because once you get in the habit of, okay, I just got to figure out, you know, troubleshoot, get myself back to square, right? You'll understand that, okay, it's not as hard as I thought it was, and I can actually do this, right? So that's half the battle sometimes. So don't get downbeaten or browbeaten or something, or, you know, I don't know what the term is, but don't get too down on yourself when you don't understand something. It takes time to really be in the software and know what's going on, why things are doing the things they're doing, and if it's not doing what you expect it to do, well, why? Research it. Type it into frickin' Google, you know? Figure it out. That's what they're paying you for. They're paying you the big bucks to solve those issues for them, you know? All right, now I'm just gonna hit the smooth on these guys a little bit, pull these guys back in, these vine pieces, and they're not done yet, but they're like a base. It's like, this is like the base of the sculpt. Right, so we've got something decent over here, right? We've got a base for our jacket, we've got a base for the vines, we've got a base for our character. The next portion of this is going to be us building the hands, and building maybe this little spanner wrench thing, weapon thing that he's got here. All right, so that's going to be it for today's class. I'm not going to go into detailing yet, because I do want to build the base for all of the pieces first, and when I finish building the base for all the pieces, then we can go into detailing the vines, right? You don't want to jump into putting wrinkles and shit and, like, you know, micro details into it yet. No. You save that for later. You save that for after you've gotten yourself a bunch of these pieces kind of knocked out, you know? So yeah, that's the big gist of it right now, is just get the basics, get the framework down for what you're gonna do. You know, I'm not gonna go into nose hairs if I still have the nose to build, you know. So yeah, that's it for now, and yeah, I will see you next class. All right, let's keep it moving.